army to where he is today.
Hi, Michael.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome.
Fantastic. Well, I guess to start with, Michael, it's great for our viewers and listeners to learn a little bit more about what Legacy does for anyone that isn't familiar with Legacy Club services.
We're an organisation that's 100 years old. Legacy was founded in 1923 after the battles of World War One. Obviously, lots of veterans and their families, more importantly, were left without support as a result of World War One. And Legacy was founded on a promise from one digger to another to look after the missus and kids. Sounds a little dated these days, but we're very proud of our history, needless to say. We focus very deliberately on the families of the veterans who have either died or given their health in service. Really importantly, those families do get support from the government and different agencies. However, sometimes that support isn't as accessible as it could and should be, and they obviously continue to struggle in many instances with some of the effects of losing a loved one and a parent, obviously under difficult circumstances. Defence people make a deliberate sacrifice to be able to support their veteran parent, and those families sometimes go through more significant hardship than others do, and so we're there to support them during the course of their growth more than anything else. So we provide financial assistance, we provide education assistance, we provide assistance with respect to social integration, mental health challenge, assisting them with mental health challenges, just making sure really that the family and the children in particular are looked after and aren't disadvantaged as a result of their parents' service to the country.
Wow, it's an amazing organisation, and it's such a testament that it's been, so active for so many years. I think you celebrated your 100-year anniversary last year.
We did indeed, yes. We had a torch rally across, it started in France, on the battlefields of France, and then went to London. There's a Legacy Club in London that looks after widows, Australian widows over there, and then landed in Perth and moved its way around the country over about a 6-month period last year. So yes, fabulous centenary last year.
Fantastic, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an awesome way to celebrate it. Right. And I guess in terms of, the people that work for the organisation, you have a very heavy volunteer base, don't you, in terms of the services that you're able to provide?
We do. Legacy's was founded on volunteering. It was quite literally service persons returning from battlefields that started Legacy, and the heart and soul of Legacy is legatees, as we call them, and those legatees commit to supporting the families in a variety of different ways, whether that's through a backyard blitz and organising, assistance to sort out issues with respect to playgrounds and backyards and those sorts of things, or indeed through financial counselling and assistance. Historically, legatees who would return from service used to do dental work for young children. They used to all sorts of things. So, medical assistance and legal assistance and those sorts of things. So lots of professional assistance to help the young families. But it really is a volunteer-based organisation. These days, with the complexity of some of the issues that we find with our young families, we've found a need to actually branch a couple of decades ago now, but really growing in, I guess, structure more than anything else around a need for professional staff as well. So we've got in the organisation that I'm the Chief Executive Officer of is called Legacy Club Services, and Legacy Club Services is a shared service organisation that supports the clubs. So we provide support in the form of corporate services, financial, HR, administration and IT in particular, but we also do fundraising, marketing and communications and run that as a professional domain across all of the Legacy clubs that we support. And finally, the last piece, really importantly, of course, is the beneficiaries programs. And so we run a really strong team of community service workers who work very deliberately with the families that we obviously look after.
Amazing. Thank you so much
That's
for
all right.
sharing
You're
that with us.
welcome. I know there's
sure
a lot there.
There's
That's
a lot
okay.
there we could dive into. But of course, what we'd love to hear a bit more about today is your career as a CEO. So for many people, the trajectory from where they started to where they have ended up as a CEO of a not-for-profit isn't always very straightforward. So it would be great to hear from you what your journey was to get where you are today.
My pleasure. I started my career leaving school at 17 years of age and joining the army. So it was a natural progression for me. Both my grandfather and my father were in the services, and I grew up all over, quite honestly, the east coast of Australia, UK. I started school in England, and then lived in New Guinea for several years, and then across the eastern seaboard. So army was really kind of a natural step for me, a deliberate one. I served for 18 years in the army, and then with a young family of my own, decided to take a different career path, and it was just before East Timor and some of the United Nations related work and peacekeeping work that we have been more recently involved in as a nation. But I stepped out and then started a career more deliberately into management more than anything else, and worked in some large government departments in Canberra, here in New South Wales, and also for large technology companies, Hewlett Packard and a number of other ones as well. Really from the course of, I guess, my transition from the army into the consulting sector more than anything else. It was a journey of really learning a new industry more than anything else. I think that's the thing that probably drove me more than anything else. I have a passion for learning and understanding, I guess, new domains. And it was one where really I had an opportunity to be able to exercise a different part of me. I'll be a little cheeky. I was in infantry when I was in the army, and certainly infantry wasn't considered to be the technical arm of the Defence Force, and so going into technology, into IT, into a number of different departments, I had an opportunity to be able to grow a different part of, I guess, the left lobe of my brain. I'm not sure, but anyway, but the opportunity was really there to grow and to learn, and I have been in and out of consulting roles. Growing, I guess, through that environment, and then eventually got to a point where, for a number of different family reasons, I grew an interest in legacy, and I was a legatee before whilst I was still working in running a consulting practice here in Sydney, and eventually got to a point where the two parts of my world emerged. Really, there was an opportunity to be able to be, to be the CEO of Legacy Club Services, and with my family background, the passions that I have with respect to looking after defence families, and an opportunity to bring my professional experience and skills to the fore, I guess, I stepped across and started obviously into the not-for-profit sector.
Amazing, thank you so much. And when you said that you started in the army, I was like, of course, there's a real clear connection there between being in the army and being part of Legacy. But when I guess the fact that you said you were a volunteer, you were a legatee, so many people do end up transitioning from the corporate world into the not-for-profit by starting as a volunteer in an organisation that they're really passionate about and they really care about, and then those opportunities sort of reveal themselves. Would you say that's a really good way for somebody who's looking to transition to start?
Without a doubt. I think I was coming, not so much coming to the end, I guess, but really in a position where I was coming to the mature end of my career more than anything else, and so looking for something that was really meaningful and impactful from my own point of view. I mean, I had a natural affinity, obviously, with legacy because of obviously my family. My dad was a legatee, and so I knew all about legacy from that family experience. But really volunteering myself and getting involved with the club and what it does gave me a first-hand opportunity to be able to really learn about the culture of the organisation and to be honest, where its challenges were, what are the things that needed to be addressed, and how we could continue to grow legacy and in its mission and purpose. And I think having that really strong affinity and connection with the the not-for-profit or the charitable exercise or activity you're involved in is actually really important. It certainly was to me because it drove my passion, drove my interest. I ended up I got involved in the management committee of Sydney Legacy and was the secretary. And even though I had a very busy job, Sunday mornings were invariably the time that I wrote up my minutes from previous meetings. And so like very early Sunday morning, because that was the only time that I had available to me. But I did it because I loved what I was doing and I was passionate about it. And it also gave me a chance to be able to grow into the organisation as well.
That's so wonderful. Yeah, it's one of those things that goes without saying, when you love what you're doing, you know, you don't actually mind putting those extra hours in, a bit like volunteering, you know, you're doing it because of, your connection to the cause and your passion for helping whatever that mission is. In terms of, I guess, that transition, was there anything that you were surprised about moving from the corporate world? You've done army, government, corporate commercial tech, and now not-for-profit.
Growth in leadership as much as anything else. You can imagine the difference between being taught a relatively autocratic leadership style, obviously in the military. Military leadership is very different to not-for-profit leadership, I can assure you.
I don't doubt it.
and I think that not only being agile and being in a position where you grow an appreciation for the organisation, but I think there are times in your career where things don't always necessarily seem as a growth step in the first instance, where you can take a setback, or there might be a little bit of a challenge, or there's a problem that seemingly comes along. And I think one of the things that I think that massively contributed to my shift in who I am more than anything else, I think that's the right expression, as a leader, was the opportunity throughout my career to be able to take doses of humility, and I don't mean that from any other perspective than they ended up being incredibly good learning experiences where sometimes things don't work out as you expect, or there's a consequence of something that you do during the course of your delivering your function that you hadn't anticipated, and reflecting on those things over the course of a period. I think mine tends to be about 6 months. Sometimes I park things and then come back to them. But you do learn. And I think that largely the growth of my leadership style and my approach to, engaging with people has been shaped largely by my own experiences and understanding not only the way that I've impacted on people, but also what people need from me, and trying to be reflective of that. I have the experience of being involved in large programs of work and knowing that sometimes there's an initiation phase, there's a delivery phase, and then there's a closure phase. And sometimes the leadership that's required across those different phases of the function of a large body of work are quite different. And so if you, as a leader, are in a position to be able to actually adjust and reflect on what's required at that point in time, not just sticking to the same old tram tracks that you're used to, and you can reflect on what does the team need and also what does the situation require, will give you a chance to be able to actually deliver the right type of leadership, the right style of leadership, the right level of engagement. Here at LCS, I'm very, very focused on the vision of where we're going as an organisation, making sure that there's a really strong understanding of exactly what that is, so that the team, who are very passionate and are looking for direction, are able to engage and obviously pursue that. So I think as far as reflection on the differences between the sectors that I've been in and the not-for-profit sector, I've had the benefit of working through most of my career with really incredibly professional and capable people, and I think I've really enjoyed that. I think that from a not-for-profit point of view, the difference sometimes is that there is an incredible energy in delivering the services and doing that in a really engaged and deliberate way. There isn't always the level of reflection on what needs to happen in order to be able to meet the future requirements of the organisation. And so I think, if anything, the challenge that I've had as a CEO has been to help people understand more deliberately that what we've done for 100 years isn't necessarily going to make us successful for the next 100 years. We actually need to not so much redefine, but we need to reframe some of the things that we're doing. So do what we're doing, but position that in a way that there's greater connection with our beneficiaries, that we are clear about putting the beneficiaries at the centre of our service model, and making sure that we are really looking at the way that we can optimise the organisation to be able to take that forward. And I think that having that conversation, convincing people that it's not broken, that it's not wrong, that it's actually just a shift in a transition that we're going through, has been probably the most interesting part of the journey so far.
Yeah, and that's an exciting opportunity, right? You know, things are always evolving and changing, and I think, you know, some successful not-for-profits like Legacy Club Services are ones that have taken time to, you know, really look again, reevaluate what's important to them, taking time to think about, you know, why we're doing what we're doing, and is it going to get us where we need to go?
No,
So,
indeed,
yeah, thank you so much for sharing those things with us. In terms of, I guess, you know, as an organisation, you're really connected to cause, and you've talked about being very aligned to mission is something that you're obviously needing all employees to sort of represent daily. What else are you looking for in an ideal candidate if somebody was interested in working for Legacy Club Services?
It's we're a complex organisation, so it's an interesting question because it's not. I'm not sure we're different from other organisations, but I think, but I do think that. The most important thing is that you actually are prepared to understand who we are and go to the lengths of building an appreciation for the history and the traditions of what legacy is. I think we're an evolving organisation where we are looking to contemporise our operations, contemporise our engagement, contemporise our delivery and our support to beneficiaries. But so at the same time, you know, we are anchored in history, and that's really important. So the first thing that I'd suggest is somebody who is not only appreciative and understanding of the purpose of what legacy is, and obviously to support veterans and that really strong, clear affinity with purpose, but has a passion for understanding why the organisation operates the way it does, because that just the only way to succeed in our organisation is actually understanding the complexity of the organisation and what it needs and how to navigate that as much as anything else. I think that's the first thing. The second thing that I think is really important is really somebody, and with the transitions of my own career, I think this is really important. I want somebody who wants to grow. I would like every person in my organisation to want to be the CEO in however many years. They all need to want my job, basically, quite honestly. Sure. And because I think that's important. I think if you are coming to Legacy Club Services, coming to a not-for-profit, you bring the best professional self you can. And so that's about growing. It's about also making sure that you're working within the domain of your professional experience, whatever that might be, that discipline that you bring. But look to grow, look to excel and to exceed, and through the organisation, grow yourself as well as growing the organisation. You know, we're and I think you know, it's important for us as an organisation that we have employees that see themselves not only as doing good and making a difference, but actually finding themselves growing in the organisation as well.
And do you provide them the tools in order to grow? You support
absolutely, and I think from that point of view, you know, encouraging people to reach out, engage, you know, ask for assistance if they want to grow into a new, you know, sort of area of expertise. There's courses and training and those sorts of things. And I think that if we as a not-for-profit are not really looking to try and support people in their growth, then we're not really getting the best out of them. And so, you know, I think it's a collaboration between ourselves and the individual. I see that for myself as much as I see it for every other employee. You know, it really is about building and growing and bringing the best of yourself, but also making sure that you're nurturing your own skill base and your own understanding and professional development as well.
Fantastic. What sort of things do you have on the horizon for Legacy? You've had a really big celebration last year. You're probably just recovering from it all, but you know, you're always talking about growth and looking forward. Can you share anything with us in terms of what's on the horizon?
Definitely. I'm pretty passionate about our strategy and where we're going. As I indicated earlier, we're a fairly unique organisation in so much as we're a shared service provider to charities. We have a pretty narrow sort of scope of remit as far as that is concerned. That is to legacy clubs. There's 44 across the country. So far, Legacy Club Services has got established strong relationships from a service point of view to 6 clubs in New South Wales. We're hoping in the next 12 months that will grow. We're putting a new IT platform, new CRM system and ERP in, which is good. The intent of that, of course, is to actually start building one consolidated single set of data across the country, which should be quite extraordinary. Remarkably, in Australia, we haven't done a great deal of analysis, and there isn't a great deal of data on veterans and veterans' families. And so, the opportunity that we bring is to actually really deliberately try and build that out and contribute to a set of data that allows us to be able to really more comfortably and sensibly define the services that families need. We're in a position where we're building out that IT platform, we're building out our services, we're actually looking to try and create opportunity for all clubs across Australia. So Legacy Club Services will be hopefully in 12 months' time, I don't know, be a little bit more broadly focused across more of Australia, and really the opportunity there is to try and help clubs in local areas, whether that's in Wagga or in Dubbo or in Tamworth, really be in a position where they're saving and using those savings to put back to families, obviously. So it's about optimising, creating efficiencies and effectiveness, but then hopefully creating an opportunity for greater purpose and greater delivery on purpose. So that's where we're going.
Wonderful, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for your time.